guys, I'm Ryan Houston and welcome to my fly tying channel. The channel contains hundreds of different videos catering from beginners right through to the more advanced tyers and covering flies and patterns from all around the world. If you like what you see, stick around until the end of the video where generally you'll find the pattern description, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Let's get on with the show.
Hi guys, welcome back. So what I'm going to tie tonight is a HAIRWING version of a silver grey, which is a conversion of a classic salmon fly. And what I'm going to tie it on is one of these, it's a mustard size 6 80550BL, which is unusual sort of, but a nice shape. And tying thread, I'm going to use this Vivus Black 12-0. I'm going to start around about the middle. Given that we're tying on a treble, we have to wiggle through the legs of the hook. So I'm going to use a medium oval silver here for the tip, and wrap back into between the points here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on about 3 turns or so of that, but going backwards. Then for once the last turn, I'm coming up between the 2 top hooks and tying straight across. Now you see I'm not tying it back here. I'll take that tinsel up with the tie-in about 3/4 of the way up, because I'm going to have a tinsel body, so I don't want to have any lumps and bumps. So the tag, then I'm going to use a yellow floss or yellow silk. Tie that in here and then come back. And then I stopped at where I wanted to roughly end, and I'll wrap back until I hit the silver tinsel and then come forward. So then I have 2 layers, makes it nice and smooth, makes the colour more true, and I'm coming a bit further forward than where I intended to be to tie it off. So for the tail, I'm going to use a golden pheasant topping. So I'm going to select the topping, set it up on top there, tied it in a little bit further forward than where I intended to actually be tied in, and then I'll just hold it down with my finger and take a couple of loosish wraps back over it to hold it in place. I'm going to just trim that off again, level with where the front of the tinsel was, and we'll wrap all over that cut off point as well. So the original flies would have had, you know, ostrich butts, but what we're going to use here is a little bit of like a black peacock sort of hands type dubbing. I find these make a really nice butt section. And a tiny little pinch goes a long way. Now, for the rib, we're going to use the same silver tinsel as we used before. So I'm going to tie that in on the far side. I'm just letting it flip over. Then I'll pull it back again until these all sort of roughly line up. Tie that in. And then my body, I'm going to use a silver tinsel, but what I'm going to use is a silver embossed, but as I said, don't worry about that, use what you have. Wrap back to the butt and then tie all in going forward. So before I wrap the tinsel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my varnish, and I'm just going to varnish the underbody. I think that'll help adhere the whole thing together, but it also will protect the shank when you're using metal tinsels, protect it against rusting. So then wrap this hopefully in touching turns. Underneath, tie that off. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it back on itself and then just pinch it down with my needle. And if there's any lumps again, I'm just going to form it down. Now, for the body hackle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a badger hackle. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to strip the base of it, and then I'm tying this in. But what you'll see here is that I'm tying it in maybe a mil or so in front of where we tied this off. The reason for that is I'm going to put on a couple of turns and then hammer it back. One, the next turn behind that, and then backwards in probably about 3 turns or so. So once I take this up between the top hooks here, I'll take my tinsel underneath, catch that off, get on the second turn, just wiggle it through the fibres, and then I'll snap that off. And then we just come up the body 4 or 5 turns, whatever works, and tie that off at the front when we come through the hackle. And then we'll trim off both of these. Now what I want to do is just get a couple of turns on so that nothing slips while I'm doing this, but I'm going to just pinch and stroke the hackle back to give it more sweep to it. So I'm going to put on a, you could use teal or mallard or any of the sort of duck flanks for this. So what I'm going to do is I've taken a small little breast feather here, and I'm just going to go in and nip the tip out of it, and I'm going to make like a false kind of a throat with this false hackle. So you can see I have this sort of V here. So I flip the fly upside down, set that on, it'll create a even throat. So I'm trying to get it out to roughly the length that the hackle itself is, and then I'll just get in there and trim off the point of it. So, wing time. The wing I'm going to do with bucktail, and essentially it's going to be two bunches of bucktail. The first one, what I've done is I have mixed together a chartreuse, sort of a silver doctor blue and yellow in bucktail. So I'm going to take quite a sparse bunch of that, and I'm going to measure that out so it's beyond the length of the tail of the fly. Transfer hands and trim that flat, and then set that up on top here. Tie it down, and I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of super glue just on the very butt sections of those. And for flash, I'm going to use a micro pearl crystal hair on this one. So, and I'm not going to tie it in full length of the wing. I'm going to tie it in about 3/4 length of it there, and then fold it back, giving me the second strand. Now, the top wing, what I'm using is it's fairy brown dyed bucktail, but what I'm actually using is this section of it, not the actual normal long stuff. I'm using this back bit, which is quite soft. I'll take a light bunch of that, measure that up so that it's slightly longer than the underwing, trim it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tiny little blob of super glue just on the very tip of that, set that on and bind it on top before that dries. Next then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some horns on this. Again, this is a bit of embellishment. If you don't have it, don't do it, but I'm going to use some macaw because the traditionals would have had horns, and I think this just helps because I'm not going to put a topping over the top of the thing. If you don't have this, maybe use like a cock pheasant tail dyed yellow or something like that would do it, I suppose, or a little bit of goose or something. Putting one on either side. And then I'm going to finish it with a couple of jungle cock eyes, so small jungle cock eyes. I'll tie one in either side. I'm stripping them down because I sort of checked them for, I tried different lengths on it, and I found that this suited my eye best rather than a much longer feather. So just to secure that in place, I'm going to take my glue, I'm going to run the glue on a couple of inches of my tying thread and bind across that, and then I'll trim off little tag bits of that. And I'm going to finish the fly. I'm going to again glue up maybe 8 or 10 centimeters of my thread there. And wrap a head with it. So, and I let that dry, and then I'll coat it with normal varnish. But that is our silver grey HAIRWING tied. So thank you for watching until the end of the video. Please take this opportunity to hit the subscribe button down below. Tell your friends about the channel, and if you want to watch some more of my content, then check out some of the links that are appearing in your screens at the minute. As per usual, I hope you enjoyed the video, so until next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching.